was the way to get you a career. And a career is an occupation undertaken for a significant period of a person's life and with opportunities for progress. But then, a wild card came along. We call it a computer or technology that connected us into the world. And because of that, there was another input into the system. And because of that input, a degree didn't really mean much anymore because there was other places to learn. So then it became about the skills that you knew. And with those skills, you could get a job. And a job, a paid position of regular employment, that's a lot different than a career. So it's a new age. And first it was a degree, and then it was skills. But it's not about what you know anymore. It's about how fast you learn and adapt. And if you notice now a job's not enough, people have side hustles and side jobs. They're trying to make it work because you can't depend on that job anymore. So now we live in an age where it's called startup hustle. If that job isn't there anymore, you have to land on your feet and you gotta figure something out. So the reality is, the wealth divide is growing. Technology is a multiplier. Our current leaders are failing us. The partisan divide is growing. We're now just talking, we're not listening anymore. We need to nourish new thoughts, new leaders. We need change makers. But wait, we don't need people just to change things. We need moral change makers. Okay, but you can be moral, but you can not know what you're doing. We need skilled moral change makers. Wait, but that's not all. Because we want people to interact in the world and be good to one another, they're going to have to be able to make with what they have because they might not have much. We want them to imagine a better future, so now they need to be imaginative. We need problem solvers because we don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. We need them to be persistent. Okay, now that is a tall order and collaborative, but let's take a look at this. Our current school system has kids going from K to 6, to middle school, to high school, college. In college, what they have to do is now they just have to pick one track to do. And you're doing that one track to get the job, so you're getting more refined in your skills to become a cog to get a job in a larger system. But when that system isn't there when you go graduate from college, what happens to you? That one skill that you had that you thought was good for something is now not part of a system that even exists anymore because things are changing so fast. Now, this is our current education system, and as you'll see, we have kids, K through 6, learning different tracks of subject matters. Now I have a question for you. How many of you had a day where someone came up to you and said, we're going to be reading today? Or let's do a math problem. That's not the real world. So tell me how teaching math, science, physical education, all like this, has anything to do with this. It doesn't. Because they're not connecting the subjects at all for you. Our current system teaches all of this stuff, but it doesn't map to what we actually need our people to be, especially in the new age. And there are tons more jobs out there than the standard pipeline of education is giving us. So when these people all are going through the same pipeline and they end up, they've got nowhere to go and they're all competing against each other and they're not prepared for the jobs that are actually out there. So why is it we go through life, we go through school, and during life, it's completely different? How is it that you can be the perfect student and be terrible when you go out from the safe walls of the school? How is that? But wait, I thought technology was supposed to make the world better. Technology is a multiplier. We don't need just people who can do things. We need people who are asking why we're doing things. Now, the only way to make things better is with technology. We need to bring technology to students, learning to bring them up to speed to make them relevant. And we need to correct what we messed up. We need the future to be able to ask why and make things better. And not just change things to change things, but we want them to change them with purpose, with meaning, and because, and with skill. We need people to ask why. But why? Because we're human, because we have a heart, because we shouldn't just be living, we should be living, we shouldn't just be surviving. So who am I? I'm an artist, an engineer, an entrepreneur. I did it late at night, so it says an engineer twice. I'm also a maker.
You're an engineer.
I'm an engineer and an entrepreneur and all that. I don't have much time. So I've been teaching robotics, design thinking, and STEAM. And I like how Techykids put it, before it was even an acronym. So these are my little qualifications. So I've been teaching this for over 8 years. I had a robotics center after school program. I was working for a robotics company. I brought a $400,000 robot to the Tech Museum for an exhibit for people to be able to program. And I was a K-8 technology teacher at Woodland School for 4 years. And I developed the Woodland program. I developed Techykids while working with kids, testing it with kids year after year, and doing summer camp. Just to let you know as well, I got the Techykids system with Thymeo. I sent it to pre-university and they tested it out, and I have a little seal that says it does actually teach kids engineering and design. And I actually went to Purdue University as a mechanical engineer, so it was awesome to go full circle. So what is Techykids? The way we work together to change education for the 21st century to make the education system relevant again. It's a flexible yet structured system that gives the support to learn and create what you want, to create the kind of world and people that we want. I was actually talking to Dale, he's the founder of Make, puts this event on yesterday, and he said an interesting thing. He says schools keep wanting me to give them curriculum. I don't want to give them curriculum. I don't want to give them curriculum because I want them to know where they are. If I give them a curriculum, it is just the thing I don't like to do, which is an ironic thing. So Techykids is a structure, but it allows you to add the ingredients, and I've added ingredients already, and so it's just a new framework to get people more like that. So I think we need a tree, and we need that tree to be able to hold the fruit of knowledge. We need our education system to be more organic.
Get inspired and find their passions. It's a platform to connect learners, maker tools, schools, and teachers in an organized system that helps scaffold the original project creation process. Multiple maker tech tools and concepts are seamlessly integrated in a project-based way, taught with the Techykids system, including robotics with the Thymeo robot, the Internet of Things with Acer's Cloud Professor and Arduino, user interaction design with Scratch and the Makey Makey, 3D modeling with Tinkercad, and much, much more. Now, different tools can be taught in the same classroom at the same time. The content is delivered on Techykids, allowing personalized learning paths and learners to go at their own pace. Now, non-technical teachers can start getting comfortable with integrating technology into their lessons. A teacher's dashboard allows the tracking of a group's progress. Teachers can also use Techykids to learn and explore the content firsthand as well, making it easier to bring the newest and most exciting technology into their classrooms in a meaningful way to create extraordinary creations and inventions that make the world a little bit better.
So that video over there shows you the overall system with kids using the system. Now, I was mentioning that Techykids is actually a platform. I'm going going to walk you through some of the stuff. So this over here is the Techykids website. Now I had to do a redesign not too long ago because I started out selling this robot. People would look at this robot and they would think it was just a car because it has wheels. And so I had to first tell the story of this robot that it's not just a car. This is a platform for the imagination. Sorry. It's hard to juggle a microphone as well. Okay. So this is actually a dragon that moves and the wheels go, and it's a 4-bar mechanism, and it's a pretty amazing project because even the wings lift up and down because of the 4-bar mechanism, and that was created by a student of mine. Okay, sorry about that. So Techykids is a platform, and over here, I started out with this robot, and I thought this robot was really cool, and I had to communicate that it was something for the imagination. And so I started teaching, and this over here is an interactive animal project. This is an online class that someone who's interested could buy a robot from me. They get enrolled into the online class, and they could make their very own interactive animal project. And so what happened in my classroom, they learned all sorts of stuff, and I wanted to create a way for this to be actually scalable because I wanted the people who wanted to learn this stuff to be able to learn it. Because what happens is that there's technical people and there's good with kids. There's very few technical people who want to be educators, and they're also willing to take on the price cut of being one of them. So I created this platform, and this is an online class that can be done at home, but it can also be done in the school. And it can be done in the school, and it's actually best meant to be done that way. Okay. So this over here, there is a project badge map. So as they're actually doing the course, they can see where they've been, what more there is to learn, the subjects that they're learning. And you're noticing that a class isn't just learning math, they're actually doing the design process. And the design process has the Techykids methodology. And that's what I'm going to explain to you. Because Techykids is a structured yet flexible learning system that I believe you can use this structure to create anything from anything. So the first block that I have here, I repurposed Blockly, which is a programming language, to be able to do with it what I want. So this over here is a project prompt. This project prompt is creating an interactive animal. Now these different lessons show kids the bigger picture. For instance, how sensors work. Also different robotics, where to find robotics in the world. And the reason for those two lessons is because sometimes when we teach, we just teach somebody how to use this robot. And when a kid sees something else, it's hard for them to relate one thing to the other. So what I do is I take an approach where I zoom out, and I got the feedback from a 4th grade teacher in Pennsylvania where she said, you know, you're not just teaching kids how to use something, you're teaching it how it works. It's like an engineer and a scientist into the room. So these teach about bionics and everything like that. So when kids look at the robot, they don't just see, I'm learning to program this robot. They're saying, these are the first steps I can do to help people. The mediums are what your projects are made out of. So this over here is the robot, and I call this a medium 2.0 because it's programmable. And so you link these blocks into here, and this is the pre-programming language, and then you can take them on to visual programming language, and then you can advance them along, and then you can even connect on code. Now this robot has multiple ways to program this robot. And so the situation is that you can plug in, if you want to teach them JavaScript, you can put that there. If you wanted to teach them C++, you can put that block there. And depending on the project, you might want them to learn specific things, and you can drag those blocks in, and that's what they're learning to do that project. Now, the green blocks are challenges, so those are more technical. And this block would teach you how to build off of Thymia with Lego, but it also teaches things like speed, momentum, all of that thing. So during the course of this, the kids are actually creating presentations to communicate out their project, and it's also getting them to think and collaborate together. So while they're doing their project, if they're doing an invention project, for instance, the kids end up with their own slideshow that I was really impressed. This was created by 2 5th grade girls. They created a handicap helper because I have this inspiration project where they can actually randomly select a user, randomly select a verb, and then you pick an inspiration card, which is right out of left field. And so they end up having to collaborate, work together to come up with an idea. They get super excited about the idea. And then you say, okay, now you got to do your idea with a robot, and now they have to learn the robot. So whenever we do Techykids, what we're doing is we're giving them purpose first, and then we give them the tools, and it gives them a reason to want to learn all the tools. And then it's a nice, easy way to learn math and all of that. So this over here is a lesson. Each of these blocks actually link to different lessons. And each lesson, now the more senses you can engage in a person, then if they're a kinesthetic learner and they're doing it, they'll learn better. If they learn by hearing, if they learn by visual. So video is a great medium because you can actually get them on multiple sensory levels, and when they do the project, it cements it all. So each lesson has videos, quizzes, challenges. So now the kids are pulling their own content. They're pulling the content. They can learn at their own pace. And they can pause the video. They can rewind the video. They can talk with one another. And so now they're learning how to learn, as opposed to learning only what the teacher can and willing to teach them at the time. Format is the Techykids format, and so you'll see it differently for the different projects. And this over here is breadth, and this means that you're learning a variety of subject matters, and visually, as it goes deeper, that is depth, which means you're getting deeper into an expertise. Now what happens is, as you do multiple courses, you can visually see the shape of the person and their learning, what they're interested in, and you can have this scope and sequence. What makes this really interesting in this form is schools are always looking for, well, what did you learn and everything like that. The hard thing about the maker movement, it's hard to really show what the kids are learning. But with Techykids, the outcome are actually skills and a project. So you have those check marks done, and you also have a communication piece that really reflects of who the person is, how much work they actually put into it, and you can see how they output those results. So this is a profile, as you see, that's cumulative. Now imagine you're a 4th grade teacher and you just started with a new class. Imagine seeing a bunch of kids with this map. You could see what they're interested in. You can see how to team them up so they can value one another, because now we're putting them on the map, and then you can see the unique qualities of these people as opposed to giving them A's, C's, and rating them in that kind of way. So with Techykids, we have an online dashboard. You can quickly add students. You can enroll them in the classes that I currently have, but there's something new here. This is the ability to actually create your own classes. In most, if not all, learning systems currently, you're either having them learn through the online learning system or you're not. There's no in between, really. But Techykids allows teachers to high-power their classroom, and you can quickly create customized courses for your students. So for instance, if I wanted to create an invention project, I can drag this in. I can select lessons, mediums, and deliverables. And I can put in the lessons if I want to teach electronics, robotics, what I want to teach over here. Now keep in mind, each of these lessons, each of these blocks are linked with lessons. The interesting thing here is down here, you see what they're learning by dragging these blocks in. It also auto-calculates the grade level that this content is appropriate for. So this will allow teachers to actually teach things that they don't know beforehand. So it turns different blocks into, it turns different maker tools into blocks. So now the teachers don't have to be an expert before they bring it into their classroom, which is a real game changer. So here's the mediums. You can select things like Arduino, Tinkercad. These are the stuff you're going to be making your project out of. So you just drag those in. You put the deliverables in of I want a picture, a script. I have templates for all of this. And at the end, what's going to happen is you press a button. You can also save multiple maps of different courses for your kids. You click a button, it creates a course like the courses I was showing you before. And you hit submit, and it ends up in the project form that I showed you with, here is the slideshow, and I have templates for all this to scaffold thinking. They create a video of their project. These two girls create a robotic wheelchair. They might have a 3D model with their project. And so forth. So what I'm appealing for now Techykids will allow you to add in your own content. And all of you are really good at something. And you probably have an expertise that is unique to you. And I've created this spectrum where I want everyone to be able to plug in where they're at. So instead of having to teach an entire class, you'd only have to create a 3-minute video with some information just by filling out my template, and then you can teach what you're an expert at. And what I'd like to do is create a community of these blocks where we can share, learn from one another, and then give those resources to schools and everything, and then have them teach from their own unique perspective. So what I'm doing a call for is parents to help bring this into your school, educators to bring this into their classrooms, run camps. This year we're actually going to be having 4 camps around California run by people who are passionate and want to teach kids. And they're using the Techykids content, and then we're doing some trainings online. And we're also doing registrations for that as well. Also, educational consultants to train educators on Techykids. What we think is if we can train educators on Techykids, they'll get comfortable with it and they'll be more likely to roll into their kids as a resource to learn, because it takes a different